Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, one of the reasons I love recording this show is getting to speak with people who come across problems, and rather than just complain about them, they use technology to create new solutions. And today's guest is a perfect example of that ethos. When we're drifting online seamlessly from device to device, have you ever noticed that one problem follows us everywhere, and that's fake news, hate speech, propaganda, clickbait articles, etc. They're all becoming very difficult to avoid. Step forward, Factmata, and they're a London-based tech startup that uses artificial intelligence to help social media companies, publishers and advertising networks weed out those fake news, clickbait articles. From a funding point of view, they've attracted a lot of big names and attention from people such as tech entrepreneur Mark Cuban, Twitter co-founder Biz Stone, internet entrepreneur Sunil Paul and Craigslist founder Craig Newmark, who have all invested in Factmata. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to London so we can speak with Anant Joshi, the Chief Revenue Officer at Factmata, who's going to tell us all about how they're making a huge difference by eradicating fake news and ensuring that the facts are attributed to reputable sources. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Thanks for having me. It's great to be on the show. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Factmata. We're a London-based AI startup committed to reduce online misinformation. Our AI detects fake news, politically extreme content, and hate speech within the online advertising ecosystem. This can then be used to protect brands and publishers from the reputational damage that comes when an ad is misplaced against such content. My role is really to connect with media agencies and brands so we can enable them to protect their brand reputation online. I've been working in the online advertising technology area for many years now, so I have a lot of experience helping brands get the most of what the online ad world can offer them.
Cool. Now, Factmata, like you said, that is a London-based startup technology company that uses AI to help social media companies, publishers, advertising networks weed out those fake news stories, hate speech, propaganda and clickbait that we all desperately try and avoid each day. But can you just tell anyone listening who's just hearing about Factmata for the very first time a little bit more about what it is and how you do it and what makes you stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you more. Unlike existing brand safety technologies, we use three methods to classify online material: a community of people, rules, and artificial intelligence. Our algorithms use advanced natural language understanding to learn what different types of malicious content looks like from the unique data sets that we have gathered, and then we detect them in the wild. We're lucky because we've built the technology in a unique way that caters for the market today. There will always be some weaknesses of purely machine-based approaches, so we combine our algorithms with the communities of human annotators who provide their feedback, helping to refine our AI. In many cases, we can spot bad content through a simpler rules-based approach using heuristics developed through our work with journalists and research collaborators. Most importantly, these communities are experts at detecting and classifying specific types of poor quality content, which are not methods used within existing forms of brand safety. We're also planning to launch our new platform called Briefer, which will allow journalists and domain experts to annotate articles and post them to our platform. So instead of news being shared on likes or what your friends like, it'll be shared based on credibility and trustworthiness of that content. Data that Briefer actually captures will actually help our machine learning to learn better. So it's this sort of blend of approaches that sets us apart from the rest of the market.
Wow, that's an incredibly cool concept. A real big step in the right direction, isn't it? I think you've kind of listed everything that's wrong with that online landscape at the moment.
Yeah, it's a big project to be working on.
Now, I believe that many automated fact-checking solutions rely primarily on metadata, and that's the information behind the scenes that describes online news items and other posts. But can you tell me more about how Factmata uses natural language processing, NLP, to actually assess those actual words?
So up till now, existing brand safety solutions have focused using blacklists to rule out certain sites from ad campaigns, and also contextual keyword analysis and blacklisting. For example, if a brand doesn't want to appear next to any pages which contain the word wine, but does want to appear on any pages that contain the word dinner party, because some brands don't want to be associated with alcohol. Yeah. The major issues with that sort of such a case where it's hard coded or a rules based method of applying brand safety, because there's not a high level of precision. You may unfairly exclude huge portions of perfectly safe pages and content from your ad campaigns, which eventually reduces reach. And also uses of keywords can struggle to pick up the subtle forms of semantics and context that certain phrases and paragraphs that might be inherently sexist, racist, questionable, or untoward. So it's really Factmata's speciality in applying complex natural language understanding to these subtle forms of grey area within brand safety. It's really coming down to brands, right? So the brands can never be too careful about the next major sort of untracked brand safety incident, which could offend major parts of their customer base. So by using the AI, we can find this sort of bad content as soon as it happens, instead of waiting for somebody to complain about it. And that's a real power that we give back to the brands.
So I suppose it's no surprise, really, that tech entrepreneur Mark Cuban, Twitter co-founder Biz Stone, internet entrepreneur Sunil Paul, and Craigslist founder Craig Newmark, they've all invested in Factmata. Can you just tell me a little bit more about how you went about attracting investors like that, just to help any startup founders listening who are aiming to follow in your footsteps? Because I think it's fantastic what you've achieved there.
Yeah, we've actually had a relatively easy ride, I would say. Our CEO, Drew Galati, had a list of people that he wanted to be on board with the company. It was a matter of reaching out to those people, explaining the reasons why it was a solid idea, what those investors could bring to the table. You just have to go for it. There's always going to be plenty of no responses, so just keep going until you get a yes.
Now, your big aim at Factmata is to reduce online misinformation, but what is the scale of the problem, and do you have any use cases to help listeners visualise just how well that you're doing here and the kind of problem that you're fighting against?
Yeah, there's so many examples I could tell you about, but here's one stat that I always come back to. 78% of CMOs have experienced reputational damage due to brand safety scandals, and that's according to a study by the CMO Council. So this is a widespread problem. All it takes is for one person to spot a bad placement, talk about it online with a screenshot, the story goes viral in a matter of hours, and then you get a big consumer backlash, boycotts, etc., and the reputational damage actually sticks long term. So the problem for the ad tech industry is that there is a perception that advertising is basically funding this misinformation.
So what are your biggest challenges and opportunities right now?
Sadly, the opportunity for us is the fact that fake news has become a thing. Just looking over the past year, it's become clear that fake news is a global problem that needs to be tackled now. It's not just an online thing, it's a mainstream concern. We actually believe we have the right team and technology to do this. In terms of challenges, technically, we need to continue to innovate and improve our machine learning to cope with the new forms of content. We have dedicated people to do this and that have an extremely good track record. We're also continually recruiting people into our annotating community to ensure that they engage with that and what we're doing. In terms of the ad tech side, we need to be growing and getting more brands on board with us to bring revenue for the company.
So can you tell me more about how companies that are operating in this programmatic space are already testing out Factmata's platform? What kind of feedback are you getting from those companies?
It's going really well. We're running a number of pilots that demonstrate the kind of sites and content that can go unnoticed. We've proved that our technology works well, that it helps brands avoid having their ads displayed in the wrong places. So we're basically dealing with the whole ecosystem. So it can be brands, media agencies, And then on the technology side of programmatic advertising, it's like DSPs and SSPs, but also verification companies that are working with us.
So one problem that many people listening may bring up straight away is, where do you begin to navigate around accusations of censorship by algorithms that silence certain voices that companies don't want to be heard? Is that something that you're consciously avoiding at all costs?
Absolutely. We do not censor or remove the content or voices detected by our algorithms. It merely flags up the sites to the advertisers and provides a score for hate speech or bias, so that the brands can make their own decisions about where they want to appear. For example, our technology will identify a site that potentially contains fake news, and we present a score to our customers. The score ranges from 0 to 100. Some brands want to exclude all the sites where there's even the smallest risk, so they'll set their tolerance at 0. Others might be happy with a score of 40, which they can do. They're completely in charge of the level of risk they're willing to accept. So we're not here to dictate to brands what they should do, but to give them all the information they need to make informed decisions in real time. That's what we're lacking today. The technology doesn't put the brand in control.
So what's next for Factmata? What's your grand vision for the next 18 months and beyond? Is there anything else that you can share with us about that path forward?
Yeah, of course. So we're launching Briefer, which is a new news sharing platform that allows people to easily tag text from articles that they're reading, share with others to discuss topics and threads around that topic. It'll be focused on quality and credibility over the number of likes and popularity. We also need to grow the number of users on that product for the consumer side, make sure they love using the product and tell other people about it. That data provided from Briefer will then be fed into our ad tech service to ensure that we can protect the advertisers and reputations online. And we need to make sure that everyone knows about us and what we're doing. So this is great for us. Again, we're super happy to be on the show. There's also a big problem with inappropriate content in terms of video. So we're also working on technology that can detect things like hate speech in video content. Put simply, the technology basically listens to the audio and video and then applies the same analysis methodology that we've done for the written content. So especially with the amount of content being produced on video, we see that as a key focus for the company as well. And lastly, I think there's another problem which isn't really being solved, and that's around controversial topics. And that could be things like, child safety or abortion topics, which can go viral very quickly. So we're actually building our technology that helps to identify the topics that are controversial and then allows the brands to add an even extra layer of protection against these topics.
So have you done any work with YouTube or planning to do any work with YouTube on that? Because I know that's a huge problem for them right now, isn't it?
Yes, there's definitely discussions being had with them and Google as well. So yeah, we're definitely in the midst of that at the moment.
Well, a huge thank you for taking the time to come and speak with me today. But before I do let you go, could you remind the listeners of where they can find you online and also contact your team if they have any questions about our conversation today?
Sure. So for more information about Factmata, go to factmata.com or drop us an email at business@factmata.com.
Cool. Now, I think we're all affected by fake news, hate speech, propaganda, clickbait, inappropriate video content on just about any device that we pick up now. But rather than complain about it like much of the media's doing, you're doing something about it. And I can see why you've got such a fantastic backing there and how well you're doing. So I wish you the best of luck for the future. All I ask in return is you stay in contact, and we'll get you back on in 6 months and see how things are progressing.
Indeed. It will be a pleasure to come back.
There's been so much bad press at YouTube lately, with advertisers complaining that their ads are placed against inappropriate content, and to such an extent that vloggers are feeling increasingly restricted by the content that they can produce and get publicised. Equally, all of us have to navigate fake news, hate speech, propaganda, clickbait, etc. So for me, this isn't about censorship by algorithms or silencing voices. It's about creating a solution to a very real problem. And Factmata seem to be doing just that. And for those reasons alone, it's easy to see why Mark Cuban and Twitter co-founder Biz Stone, etc., have all invested in Factmata. And I've got a very strong feeling that this company is going to be a huge sensation. So this is one of those moments where I ask you to remember where you heard about them first. But what are your thoughts on the points that we've raised today in this conversation? As always, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, email me at techblogwriter@outlook.com, and let's keep this conversation going. But that's it for today's episode. I will be back bright and early with another great guest tomorrow. But until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.